I think the problem that teens have is that they have a hard time adjusting, and I know, especially with me, like I usually want things to go my way, and if they don't go my way, then things get a little out of whack because I start going nuts. And I think that's a problem with a lot of teens is that from their old family used to be they pretty much got everything they wanted, and they didn't have to accommodate to anybody else's needs. And now that with the fact that they're with a step family, it's harder for them to realize, hey, wait, it's not only me. It's not all about me anymore. It's the fact that I'm with other people now, and it's hard for them to share the needs with other people. It's hard to share that time, and I think that's the problem. And I think it's hard to they clash with personalities, where like with your first family, like my first family, I've been living with my father and my brother my whole life, so I've known them, and I know like the crazy things that they do to make me laugh, and I know the things that will tick me off, the things that they do. And now that I'm here, I mean, I'm just beginning to learn the things that will tick me off, and I'm beginning to learn the funny things that I get, and it's all a learning process. And I think that's the hardest part with most teenagers is that they don't want to go through that learning process. They don't want to go through having to change because they're so used and accommodated to the way things used to be.
In the United States, it's most common for marriages to break up either when children are very young or when they're teenagers.
Many of those divorced parents remarry within a few years of the breakup.
Thus, about 35% of American teenagers are now part of a step family.
Blended families make up more than half the families in America.
Even if you live with your natural parents, it would be rare if your extended family did not include some step family members.
Adjusting to a new step family, that's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Ian.
And I'm Beth, and this is Realfaith TV.
At the beginning of our program, we met our spotlight guest, Craig. Craig has recently had to adjust to moving and living within a blended family.
He will share with us his experience with this new living arrangement and how his faith and prayer life is helping him to adjust.
We will also talk with our studio guests on this topic. But first, let's meet some teens and find out if they know anyone who lives with a step family.
I sometimes live with my stepbrother, but it's fun. We have lots of fun.
Do you all get along, or is there a lot of fighting?
There's pretty much a lot of fighting, but we get along most of the time.
Actually, a lot of my friends live with step-parents because their parents got divorced, and all of them seem to get along very well with their step-parents and brothers.
They get along pretty much. They don't fight or anything. It's good.
The boyfriends, like my mom's boyfriend, always thinks he can, just because he cares about me, he thinks he can just boss me around all the time, and that's not happening.
For the most part, they try to make the best of it, but sometimes it's just hard to see your parent with another person.
In the beginning, they felt kind of uncomfortable because they're more used to their old mom or old dad. But I guess they get used to it, and it depends on the step parent. If they're slow and they're accepting and they're kind, and if the child is I don't know, more accepting and open to change, it works out well.
No, I'm not part of a step family myself, but some of my extended family includes step family members. Like my uncle just got married to a woman who was married once before, so now he has a stepdaughter, so I guess that makes her my step cousin. And my other aunt is in the same situation, so she has a stepdaughter now too. So I have two step cousins. But let's see if our studio guests know any step families.
Let's meet them. They are Zoe, Megan, Anthony, Katie, and Matt.
So do you guys know anyone with a step family?
Well, one of my friends actually, both of his parents are remarried, so he has a bunch of step families, and now, he'll say usually nice things about either of his step parents, but it's all a matter of he treats them more like friends than actual parents, and I think that's a good way of treating it though, because they're not really your parents, but you should give them a chance to welcome them into your house.
I had a friend once. He eventually moved away, but his parents got divorced when he was really young, and just recently his mom got remarried, and they got remarried to one of his really good friends' dad, who was also divorced. So it was pretty easy for him to adjust into the family because he knew them really well. So.
My aunt's been married 3 times, and with this most recent one, she married a man who had 2 daughters of his own, and she has 3 or 4 daughters. And they actually went into this marriage planning how they would treat each other's children, knowing that that was really important, as opposed to just saying, well, what happens will happen. And I really respect that.
My dance teacher recently, well, her husband passed away, and you know, they had 2 kids of their own, young, a year and 4 years old, and now she's getting remarried to a man who has a daughter of his own. I think she's 5 years old. So I think it's going to be good for all of them, because I can't imagine how hard it must be for kids that young to be growing up without a father, and now they'll have someone there, and they'll have another little playmate. When you're that young, I think it's an easier adjustment than it would be for us as teens.
Yeah, I don't really know anybody who has a step family. I think one of my friends, his parents got divorced, and then his dad got remarried, but he lives with his mom. So he hasn't really had to adjust to a step family, but sometimes when he goes and visits, you know, the other family, then he kind of has to adjust. But it's more like cousins rather than a new family.
Right, because he's not living with them all the
right.
time.
Yeah. Then you might have situations where the mother might have some children, the father might have some children, and then they might have some children together, so then you have the whole half-sisters, half-brothers getting thrown into the mix. That can become very different as to who gets treated by who. And
yeah, I can imagine that there are many difficulties that members of a step family face.
Yeah, it must be pretty tough to adjust to a parent having a new spouse.
And then to add to that, a new sibling or 2 or 3.
Let's go back to our teens on the street and find out what they thought of some difficulties were in adjusting to a step family.
You don't know the person, you don't know the other family. It's hard to adjust and get used to it. There's usually conflicts, lots of conflicts. It's hard.
Really get along?
It's hard to adjust.
Getting along and learning to accept another person into the family.
Sometimes they don't get along with the stepmother or stepfather.
I don't know, just jealousy with the parents and everything.
Favoritism. That's the biggest issue. It's if the mother has 3 kids, the mother favors those kids as compared to the father's kids.
Not knowing if they can go to their step parents as if they could go to their real parents for help, right?
They try to adjust because one mom and one family might not do the same things as the other, so they might expect different things.
Well, they basically, like, since it's not really their parents that are the step parents, like, they feel like they don't have to listen to what they say, and they just disobey them a lot, and then that causes fights, and then the person married to them has to go through a lot because their kids won't obey, like, the stepfather or mother.
The adjustment to a new step family tends to be even harder for teens than for younger children, because we're usually becoming more independent.
The pressure to make a blended family successful can either push a teen to break away from the family too soon or smother his ability to make decisions apart from the family.
So what are some other difficulties you guys think step families might have to face?
I think the hardest one is probably adjusting, just getting, because it's not your actual family, it's not your blood family. So I think it's just getting used to being with that person all the time and just being around them.
I think what a lot of the teens were saying on the street, which I thought was really good, and how you might expect your stepmom or stepdad to be like your real biological mom or dad, and you might be expecting things that they're not like. So I guess just adjusting would be difficult.
Yeah, or if they have like different ideas about when your curfew should be or what kind of foods you have for dinner, just little things like that you don't even really think about on a daily basis would be hard to get used to with having a new family.
Yeah, kind of like what Ian said. I think family is like a sacred thing, you know, it's family. It's just a pack of people that you grow up with. But when new people come in, you're like, whoa, who are these people and why aren't they related to me and they're coming into my house? It's kind of not scary, but it's like, you know, it's like Ian said, it's an adjustment that you gotta just go through it.
I think that some people probably also feel like if they become, like, say they have a new stepmom, I think a lot of people might feel afraid to become close to that person because they don't want to hurt or betray their biological mom.
You know, like they get replaced.
That would worry. Yeah. I think that the important thing to remember in a place like that is that it's two different relationships and two different people. No one's trying to replace the other. It's just an addition onto your family.
Yeah, I think a step-parent can add to a family to a point where the teen is comfortable being around them.
You have to really have faith in your parents that they would remarry somebody who was really ready and willing to be part of your life in the way that you need them.
It's important to remember too that, you know, every family's situation is different. So the role that that step-parent is going to play in the teen or child's life is going to be different for each person. Sometimes it's a widow situation, sometimes it's divorce, sometimes, you know, they're going to need that step-parent there in their life really strongly. Maybe if you're really missing that mom, if your mother passed away and you want that type of figure back in your life, or sometimes maybe you're going to need a little more distance at first. Every situation is different.
Some teens are embarrassed about having their mom and dad enter into a new relationship.
It could be the first time they considered their parent as someone with romantic interests.
It is not unusual to feel torn between getting to know the mom or dad's new spouse and being loyal to the other parent.
Craig has entered his new step-family situation with a positive outlook.
He had to move to a new house in a new town with a stepmom and a stepsister.
Next, he tells us how he's adjusting.
My new family, it's almost been about a month now that we've been living together. It's me and my older brother. He's 20, so he's 2 years older than me. My father, Janet, and her daughter, who is in between me and my brother, she's 19. It's had its ups and downs, but for the most part, it hasn't been difficult at all. Like, they're great people. I get along with them. It's kind of cool to have a sister now. I've never had that before. It's just been me and my brother our whole lives. It's a lot different of a town place. It's a lot quieter than where I used to live, and there's no friends right around the corner to call up and say you want to hang out. But inside the house itself, I mean, Janet, she's great. My sister, you know, she's good, and we don't see each other a lot because we're on different schedules, but it hasn't been that difficult at all. Well, to grow up without a sister, like, I've always had just me and my brother, and it's just been us two doing everything. Like, when I started playing football, he played football. Like, we played football all our lives. And, you know, we did that together. When he played soccer, I wanted to play soccer. We've done everything we could possibly do together. Now to have a sister, I mean, I'm excited because I've never had one before, and maybe it's going to be a great thing because, I mean, I could probably turn to her for advice, and I can look to her for answers. Granted, you know, me and my brother can't roughhouse it like we used to. You know, we can't just start beating each other up because her room's right next to ours, but I really hope that our relationship between me and my sister, like, can really grow. And I mean, it's been like, I've only seen her probably like 4 times in a year. Now I have to live with her every day of my life. The most difficult part, just kind of getting used to each other's habits and ways of doing things. Like, I'm always so used to whenever I'm done eating something, I'll just leave the thing in the sink. And now, you know, there's girls in the house, you got to clean it up. And I mean, just trying to find things around the house and just kind of getting used to how people do things and adjusting to their ways, but it hasn't been too bad. What do I like most about my new step-family? I think is the fact that I'm really blessed, because a lot of step-families argue and whatnot, and I don't think there's been a day that's gone by in this past month that we haven't laughed our butts off, and we've been in tears laughing, and a lot of good times.
Wow, I think it's really great that Craig gets along so well with his stepmom and sister. It seems to me like the hardest thing about adjusting for him has been the fact that he's in a new town and all his friends aren't around. So he's right, he is pretty blessed.
Is Craig's situation similar to any step-family arrangements you are familiar with?
It kind of reminds me of the Brady Bunch a little bit. You know, there's the mother with the daughter. There might not be multiple children, and there's the father with the 2 sons. So it's 2 like kind of different lifestyles, and now they're joined together. And he said there's not a day that's gone by in the past month where they haven't just laughed together. So I think it's kind of like, they're learning from each other, they're enjoying each other, and it really sounds like it's coming out well. And
I agree. I think it's really nice that Craig's being so optimistic about it and really opening this new sister into his life.
I think what I can most compare to this is, say, maybe you had a friend over, or you had another family come over to your house. You need to adjust to their living styles and what they do. So I guess it's kind of what he's saying.
Yeah, like the friend I mentioned earlier, he has a couple stepbrothers and sisters, but he treats them all like friends. You know, like they don't see each other a lot, but you know, whenever they're together, they don't treat each other like me and my brother. They treat each other like really good friends, and I think that's a really great way of doing it.
I think that it's really good to hear stories like Craig's, where he has such a positive feeling about his stepfamily, because you know the stereotypical stepfamily is like Cinderella with the evil stepmama and the two evil stepsisters, and that's really not what it's like. Chances are, you know, if this new mom or dad loves their person they're married to, they're going to love you too. And that reminds me of my uncle was dating this woman who was married once before and divorced, so she had a daughter who I think is 8 or 9. And so before my uncle proposed to this woman, he went to the daughter first and proposed to her and said, you know, would it be okay if I marry your mom and we make a family? And the little girl said yes, and then the two of them together went to the mom. And you know, I just think it's really good to hear like positive stories and happy ones about stepfamilies who are getting along and making it work and really sharing the love with each other, because it's not the stereotypical stepfamily that we hear about.
Yeah, well, that's all nice and everything. You know, it's great to have stepfamilies who get along, but actually a friend of mine actually has him and his brother were at first they were very protective of their mother, because their mother started dating this one guy. And at first it was like, you know, they were being protective. They didn't really like the idea of her going out with him. And, you know, that was normal. But then after a while, it got to be them just like being selfish, because they would say, not just say mean things, but they would just be like, wow, they would be really mad at the fact that their mom was dating another guy other than their dad. And they were just really mad.
Yeah, you know, I have a situation where a friend of mine's parents got divorced, and now her dad is going to be getting remarried, and it's a hard adjustment. It's like what I was saying before. You don't want to accept this new person in your life necessarily because you are afraid of betraying your mother, or you might even feel like maybe this person was the cause of your parents not being together anymore. And I mean, day by day, it's a struggle to work through these feelings and begin to accept this person into your life. And I'm sure it's something that my friend will continue to have to work at. But I mean, hopefully someday the situation will resolve and everything will be at peace, and they'll be able to be a happy family together, because that's what's really important.
That's true. I mean, I knew someone once whose real mom was really warm and caring, and then when this girl got a stepmom, she wasn't quite as warm. She was a little colder, so it took a lot of adjusting. And I think what Beth, you're saying is it takes work. It takes work to bring new people together for a stepfamily. So, and also maybe even at first, if it starts off a little shaky, that doesn't mean that it can't eventually one day be really happy and everything, and everyone gets along.
Exactly. Stepfamilies grow and develop through good communication.
Listening to each person and taking their thoughts and concerns seriously can build respect between the members of a blended family.
Teens who are included in making important family decisions feel valued.
It also helps a great deal if the basic rules about chores, behaviors, and responsibilities can be discussed and agreed by everyone.
Prayer and following your religious beliefs can help you to be open to changes in your life, no matter what they may be, including living with an expanded family.
Next, Craig tells us how his commitment to his faith and prayer life has helped him with his adjustment to his new family.
My advice for other teenagers would be to give it time and be patient, because, I mean, I wasn't sure of what was going to happen here, but I've been just kind of sitting back and not trying to force things to go the way I want them to go, but I've just been letting them happen the way they're supposed to happen. And by being patient and just letting things unfold, I think I've been better off, because it's helping me to adjust, not only to a new environment, but adjust as a person to other people's ways of doing things. Oh, it's not a day that goes by that my faith doesn't play some part in my life. I mean, I'm dedicated to do daytime prayer and night prayer with my Liturgy of the Hours book, and I pray on my own. But I mean, there hasn't been a day that's gone by this past month where I haven't prayed individually for my father, for my brother, my sister, my stepmom. I mean, it's been crazy. I know my whole family, we're all Catholic. I know that, but I believe I'm the only one who goes to church and whatnot. But I think maybe that's the reason why Christ brought me to this new step family. Why I have to be here. Maybe there's a revival that needs to be going on in my family. I mean, maybe they need to get back to church, and maybe that's why I'm here. Like I said before, I've been blessed that I don't clash with anyone here. That we all get along pretty good. But I mean, laziness has been getting a big part of me, and I feel bad. I've been letting Janet and Leanna do a lot of the things around here, and I know, like, through prayer, Christ makes me a more humble person, and he makes me understand that I have to serve more, and that the way I love him is through serving people. And I think he's taught me that I have to, like, step up and take care of more things around the house, and I've been trying to help out a little more. And Leanna and Janet, I think they're kind of like, I'm taking a little load off their shoulders. Hopefully I am. I mean, they don't seem too stressed out. But I mean, like I said, I've been praying before I even got here, and there's no reason not to have it, because you know that if something goes bad or something goes unplanned, like you didn't want that to happen, it's taken care of. And that's the way I feel about this family, that there's going to be a lot of twists and turns along the way. I'm guaranteeing it, but I know it's taken care of, and that's Christ's guarantee to me.
I think it's really good that even though maybe the rest of Craig's family aren't really necessarily practicing their religion, that he's still able to pray every morning and every night and do the Liturgy of the Hours and go to Mass and really find strength through this situation and for the rest of his life through Christ. I think that's a pretty amazing thing.
Mm-hmm. What are some ways faith can help teens adjust to a new step family?
Well, I think that anyone entering a new step family should just realize that Jesus' message was, love everybody else as I've loved you, and you just got to treat, even if you don't treat them like family per se, like you treat your brothers and sisters, you should still welcome them into your home and just say, my house is your house, and even if it's not on a family basis, you should at least be at peace with them.
Yeah, there are different kinds of love that you can give people. Also, it can only be a great example if you are really strong in your faith, because it's something that a family can be built around, and maybe you can impress on others that this is really something that helps you be strong and helps you in your ways with the family, and it can only be a good influence.
I think it's also interesting when we remember that, Joseph was not biologically Jesus' father. That's why she's the Virgin Mary, and Jesus still loved him and treated him like he would anybody else. And I think that we can only look to him for guidance and as an example with a relationship with a step-parent in our own lives.
He sets an example for us, saying that you got to give everyone a chance. So when you get a new family, you got to give them a chance, and you got to be able to adjust to their living styles. And
Yeah, you have to be able to show them respect and not step over any boundaries with them, and just show them the kind of respect and love that you would show your friends or just any other new person that you would meet in your life, and not have any kind of hostility toward them or just anything like that.
Yeah, our faith just gives us examples of how to treat people, and people in our family are some of the first people we'll learn how to treat well.
And if you're lucky enough that your step family is practicing the same kind of religion as you, to go to church with them must, at least I think it would for me, bring over somewhat a kind of feeling of peace and a connection with that person on another level that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise realized, and it may allow you to open up to them in other situations.
Exactly. That might be one of the few things that you may have. If you are, as Beth was saying, if you are lucky enough that your stepfamily shares your religion, maybe you have nothing else in common, but if you have that one thing that you share the same religion, it might open up a lot of other facets that you can share with your new family.
Yeah, it's like a bonding experience,
exactly.
Going to church and praying together, and even just before meals, that's something that just connects you in that moment where you're really praying and acting as a family.
And it really helps to have like one really big general thing in common. And as you guys said, you can all bond around it.
You know, and besides, as a family, just being able to pray on your own for the strength and the courage to be accepting of this new person in your life. So, you know, God and our faith can help us on so many different levels. Step families must work together to foster the sense of belonging to one another that naturally grows in families who have been together since the beginning.
And it's especially important for teens in a blended family to find a balance between family time and time with their friends.
Also, remember that no one is perfect, so focus on the good in people. Don't dwell on their faults.
And remember to pray.
In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus said, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you."
Your parents, step-parents, and step-brothers and sisters are not your enemies, but it may feel like they are at times.
Praying for the success of your parents' marriages and for your new siblings can help build a caring attitude in you.
Remember, prayer doesn't change God, it changes us.
Do you live with a step family? What has been your experience with this?
We want to know.
Contact us through our website.
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or call us at 609-406-7402.
And here's one final thought about patience.
St. James wrote this to the early Christians.
You too must be patient and do not complain about one another.
St. Peter added, seek peace and follow after it.
Look for ways to bring people together around the things you all enjoy.
Don't pick fights.
Relationships grow with time and attention.
God will bless your efforts to be calm and tolerant.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on Real Faith TV.
God bless.